When the Orlando Magic pivoted from their core of Nikola Vucevic, Evan Fournier, and Aaron Gordon back at the 2021 trade deadline, selling off their most valuable assets when they realized they had taken this team as far as they were going to be able to go. They embraced the rebuild, accepted they were going to be bad for a few years, and build through the draft. And it actually worked out pretty well for the Magic overall, because not only were they able to draft Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner in the 2021 draft, Suggs of course being their own pick at number 5 and Wagner a pick they acquired from the Bulls in the Vucevic trade, but bottoming out in the 21-22 season enabled them to land the number 1 pick and get their next franchise player in Paolo Banchero. The Magic in just 2 draft classes had their new young core, and that young core would take them from a 34-win team to a 47-win team in just 1 season. The most regular season wins for their franchise since Dwight Howard was still with the team back in 2011. And even though the Magic struggled this past season, in large part due to injuries from their core 3 players, it was clear they needed to figure out their offense, particularly their 3-point shooting, when they were far and away the worst 3-point shooting team in the league last year. But even despite their poor offense, with their young core in place, controlling most of their future first-round picks, and even possessing some supplemental picks they acquired in trade deals over the past few years, the thought around the league was there's a lot to like about this Magic team and what they have to work with their core of Banchero, Wagner, and Suggs. And even though I myself haven't been as high on the Magic and their future as other fans around the league have been, I also understand why this is an exciting, young, intriguing team with the right moves could be a very scary contender in the East. That is, until they made the first blockbuster trade of this offseason, where they used most of their first-round draft capital at their disposal in sending 4 unprotected first-round picks to the Grizzlies, along with Cole Anthony and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in exchange for Desmond Bane. And oftentimes when a major trade like this is made, we all have our initial knee-jerk reactions to the deal, where we can't fathom why one team would do this trade, but then we let things settle for a bit, break down the implications of the trade and the fit for both teams, and you say, okay, well, this makes sense. With this Magic trade though, nearly 24 hours later, I'm still baffled by this one, and I'll explain why in this video, looking at both sides to try and make sense of it. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, I would very much appreciate it if you hit that sub button. That way you don't miss a video, and in return I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, when I saw the Shams bomb that the Grizzlies had traded away Desmond Bane, initially I was shocked, because I thought Bane is one of the Grizzlies' more underrated impact players that is so critical to their team and their overall offense. And not only that, but the Grizzlies invested quite a bit in this guy when they signed him to that rookie max extension for 5 years, over $200 million. Like, even though the Grizzlies had a disappointing season last year, the last person I would have expected to be on the trade block was Desmond Bane. But then I saw they were getting 4 first-round picks in exchange for him, and I said, okay, it's a no-brainer. You take that haul and run all day for Desmond Bane and never look back. Because as good as Bane is and has been, a player that I'm very much a fan of and would love to have him on my team, he's not an all-star level player, and he's most certainly not worth mortgaging your entire future on this as the move to get you over the hump. So I get the trade from the Grizzlies' perspective, because now they can either blow things up and go through a rebuild with the perfect start to that and acquiring all of this draft capital for Bane. Now you can acquire even more if you sell off on Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant, or if you're still looking to be competitive and build around Ja and Jaren Jackson, you can now flip those picks for more win-now talent. So I love this trade for the Grizzlies. I'm not even fussed about them taking on KCP's contract, because I still think he's a very serviceable player. Just wasn't the right fit for him in maximizing what he does best in Orlando. Only 2 years left on his deal. Cole Anthony, it's essentially an expiring contract, as it's a team option in the 2nd year. I think it's a great trade for the Grizzlies. Now, for the Magic, look, in a vacuum, adding Desmond Bane to their roster is incredible. It's a great fit. It's perfect for what they would need when it comes to a movement shooter who doesn't need to have the ball in his hands all the time, so Paolo and Wagner can still do their thing in creating their shot on offense, but he can still play on the ball and create his own shot when needed. He's the perfect dribble handoff piece that they need. He's a pretty solid defender, which fits their overall identity of the Magic being one of the best defensive teams in the league. So yes, just strictly looking at it on paper, as an addition to the roster, while removing one of their starters who was horrible for them last year, and this move looks incredible. But that's not really how it works in the NBA. When you have to factor in the financial implications of a deal like this, the future assets included in the trade, as well as the opportunity cost of potentially going with another deal that maybe would have made more sense financially and for their long-term future. Now, to me, the biggest blunder in all this by the Magic is that when you make a type of move like this, you truly believe that you're almost there. and that this move is bringing you a championship in the near future. Like, this is the move you see teams that are right on the cusp of being title favorites when they say, all right, enough messing around, we're going all in on this guy. Usually that guy is a top 20 level talent in the league, if not even higher than that. The Magic felt that guy was Desmond Bane. Again, I like the fit. They will absolutely be a better team than they were last year, assuming they're all able to stay healthy, but this isn't a team where you confidently say they're a title contender now. Now, I know some will say, well, yeah, it's 4 picks and a pick swap, but those picks are going to be late first round picks. Who cares? In the long run, Bane is likely going to be better than anything they would have gotten for those draft picks. Well, the thing about picks in the NBA is that they're like currency, and they become more valuable currency over time, over the years in the NBA, because picks are the greatest trade chip that a team can use to sweeten any deal, and even a path to land a star level player if you have enough of them to accumulate in a package deal. The Magic trading that many picks, and because of the Stephian rule where teams can't trade consecutive first round picks, they're now limited from making future big swings where they can throw out a bunch of picks to further add talent to the roster. Like, they really have to believe that this core that they have now with Desmond Bane is getting this franchise their first championship. They don't have the ability to make another all-in type move. This was the move. To me, the way I look at it is, if you're looking at this roster and you're all in on this core, you believe in this young group that you have, and you believe we're not going to need those picks anyway because we already have our guys. We're already committing to them long-term on our payroll with the huge contracts we gave Wagner and Suggs, and soon to be another max deal to Banchero. You already have other young talents like Anthony Black, Tristan da Silva that can work as rotational players. Then that's fine if you want to give up your future picks because you believe you have your team that you can compete with for the next 5 to 7 years. But why not make more cost-effective moves and utilizing those picks over multiple transactions? The Magic could have easily gotten a player like Coby White as an example, who, yes, I know is not as good as Desmond Bane, but is on a much more team-friendly contract. You're going to have to pay him next summer, but it'll still be cheaper than Bane's deal, who's owed $160 million over the next 4 seasons, and you absolutely would not have had to give up 4 first-round picks for Coby White. And it would still have offered you more flexibility to make additional win-now type moves in the future. The Bulls front office, they're horrible negotiators. Trust me, I know, I'm a Bulls fan. You likely could have gotten Coby White for a first-round pick in a couple seconds. I'm glad the Bulls didn't trade Coby to the Magic for that, because hopefully, although I won't hold my breath knowing the Bulls, but hopefully a trade like that has set the new trade market for this offseason and it raises the value of Coby White. But I digress. The point is, the Magic could have done a similar trade, even if it wasn't to the level of a player like Desmond Bane, for a lot less. Or, if they were willing to sell the farm and go all in like they did, go after a superstar level player. Not that I think Kevin Durant would be a good fit for the Magic, mainly from a timeline perspective, but you could have gotten Kevin Durant for that kind of haul. How about Trae Young, who I'm not a fan of Trae Young, by the way, but at least Young provides them with the playmaking they still don't have, which I believe was the main reason their offense has been so bad when they don't have a legitimate floor general. Again, to me, it goes back to the opportunity cost in this. Was this the right opportunity for the Magic to go all in? And then the thing about the picks, everyone's saying, well, they're late first rounders. We don't know that. We only know that one of the picks is this year's 16th pick. The Suns pick next year. I mean, depending on what the Suns do, they're going to move on from Kevin Durant. Maybe they blow up their roster, but even if they don't, they're still not a great team. That pick could easily be a lottery pick next year in a stacked draft class. And again, since it's unprotected, who knows if it ends up jumping into the top 4. And then the picks far out in the future in 2028, 2030, once again, why I've always said you should never trade unprotected picks, because you're one bad season of injuries away from suddenly having to hand over a top pick to another team. Or say things don't work out with this core, they underachieve, and you have to pivot and go down a different direction. You don't have the luxury to be able to do that because you won't have control over your own picks in the event you need to go down the tanking route. And then the last thing I'll say about this trade is that the Magic are viewing Desmond Bane as their savior, and that by bringing in Bane, it'll fix their offensive woes and it will all be worth it in the end. The rest of the Magic core, they also need to improve. Like, as talented as they are as young players, Wagner, Banchero, Suggs, they still have to be better and work on their games, especially on offense, for this team to truly take it to the next level. I'm not saying they can't do it because they're still young and haven't even hit their primes yet, but just inserting Bane in alone and the other guys not taking a leap doesn't really take this team anywhere. All 3 of those guys had their worst offensive seasons from an efficiency standpoint when you look at their true shooting percentage and their effective field goal percentage, and they all turn the ball over at really high rates. Desmond Bane isn't fixing that. Those guys have to take their game to the next level in order for this to work. So yes, I know I'll probably get labeled as a hater, but I just find it baffling the Magic chose to make an all-in move like this for Desmond Bane, when in reality, they actually had time on their side with this young core to be a little more patient and see how things go before hitting the accelerate button prematurely. Just my take on the matter. I would love to hear what you guys think though. You let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.